had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would tell me what to do with Cassie.
Word has it that Diddy's trial took an unexpected turn, with one of his sex slaves testifying about all that transpired between him and Diddy.
I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, but he's scared that I was exposed.
Diddy's trial just taken an unexpected turn, and rumor has it that one of his sex slaves testified about it. Occurred between him and Diddy, and I have reached a settlement with Diddy for $4.125 million. All right, was he afraid of being revealed? If this witness's account is accurate, Diddy's attorneys might not be able to maintain. Now that Diddy is out of jail, we have the whole story. Let's begin by dissecting the federal evidence and conspiracy theories with Jonathan Audi, a name that should make Diddy shudder each time it appears in a court photo. In 2018, a man bursts into Miami's Trump National Dural Golf Club, shooting at the ceiling and drapery. When police arrive, there is a gunfight with an American flag across the front desk, and the man is eventually identified as Jonathan. Most people would dismiss Audi's arrest after being shot in both legs as just another troubled person losing his. However, during his police interrogation, Audi uttered something that would plague the entertainment industry for years to come. Audi made outrageous claims about being Shah Diddy Combs' sex slave while still dressed in what looked like a medical gown. Most people instantly dismissed the strange, uncomfortable footage as the rants of a disturbed guy, but here's in 2025. During Diddy's federal trial, the tale takes a very crazy turn, with several of Audi's seemingly implausible. Let me give you a complete picture of what Audi claimed, as it is supported by more witnesses and proof. Did you know Sean Combs, the pump daddy, during that interrogation? Go ahead, call yourself these days. The interrogator sets the scene, and what comes next is among the most incendiary. I slept with Cassie and Sean, according to testimony that would later turn out to be prophetic. In essence, he would be giving me advice on what to do with Cassie. Now, take a moment to consider this in 2018. According to Audi, Diddy made him have sex with Cassie Ventura in front of Diddy, and he said he had herpes from these interactions and filed a lawsuit against Diddy, which was settled at the time. At the time, these claims looked ludicrous. It's hard to believe, but in 2025, male escort Daniel Phillips is testifying in federal court regarding nearly identical encounters with Diddy and Cassie, but Audi's allegations veered much farther into the realm of conspiracy.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would tell me what to do with Cassie. They move what's called high-grade powdered MDMA. They move cocaine, and they move liquid cocaine in their bottles too. Okay, so they put the liquid cocaine in the bottles and they move it. I seen the liquid cocaine, I've drank it myself, having sex with Diddy and Cassie.
The specifics concerning liquid cocaine are very unsettling.
I seen the liquid cocaine, I've drank it myself, having sex with Diddy and Cassie. Okay, it's not good. He drinks it all the time.
Audi recounts not just seeing this purported drug use, but also having to engage in it. During intercourse, he mentioned that liquid cocaine is combined with bottles regarding days-long drug-fueled gatherings concerning a network of influential persons at the time that concealed these acts. Audi was portrayed by the media and law enforcement as a deranged conspiracy theorist. Yet this is what makes this narrative astoundingly astounding. In March 2024, federal agents raided Diddy's residences and confiscated over 10,000. Prosecutors claim that bottles of baby oil and drugs were used in the precise kind of bizarre events that years prior, Audi explained, detectives had seen this casual reference to a deal with Shah Combs, ignored at first, but would turn out to be an important component of the jigsaw, much more unsettling. I've had a wonderful life.
I've had a great life. I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, but he's scared that I was an exposed.
Hold on, let's dissect this. Audi claims that Diddy gave him more than $4 million and that Diddy was fearful of him disclosing something. This was much more than just being silent about actions that were mutually agreed upon. Answering the question of how a man who was classified as a dangerous maniac could silence someone with explosive knowledge, possess such precise information of what federal investigators would eventually find, is one that plagues this throughout the case. Audi didn't merely level general charges. Instead, he offered information that has turned out to be strikingly congruent with additional evidence and testimony given in court years later. But the situation becomes even more complicated when we take into Audi was a stripper and former adult film star who said he met Diddy at a Star Island party. This background made it simpler for many to reject his allegations after he became a pornographer. After all, who would believe a porn actor who claims to be one of the most influential people in music, sex slaves? But even in his during questioning, Audi demonstrated knowledge of the larger relationships and plots he thought were at play.
They land on the contracts. It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes. Ben Mercedes worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years and worked for Hillary Rodman for 5. Okay?
He wasn't. In addition to making outrageous claims, he described a network of legal protection, mentioning particular lawyers and this degree of specificity about ties to Diddy's enterprise points to someone who was intimately aware of how these claimed the way operations went, turning Audi from a laughingstock to a possible key witness is arguably one of the most. Despite the recent judicial history's spectacular reversals, legal experts currently believe that Audi's 2018 claims are more credibility as a result of Cassie Ventura's evidence throughout the trial attesting to their sexual encounters and the appearance of a purported $5 million non-disclosure deal. But Audi's ex-wife, T.A., may provide the most telling confirmation. Troutwine, who has offered vital information on the terrible effects these purported incidents had on Audi's, Troutwine claimed in interviews with TMZ in May 2025 that Audi's life was ruined by his association with Diddy, alluding to the purported freak-off meetings between Diddy and Cassie. Troutwine depicted a man whose life turned upside down following his interactions with Diddy, explaining how Audi was a driven individual who led a healthy lifestyle prior to these incidents, but his conduct drastically changed after. Even more unsettling was her encounter with Diddy at a Star Island party, and her switch from stripping to pornography disclosed that despite being imprisoned, Audi still fears Diddy's wrath, but feels somewhat. What makes Audi's narrative so captivating is that they are safe in jail because they are far from Diddy, who is on trial in New York, is not only how detailed his allegations are, but also how they have purportedly been supported in court. During Cassie, in her testimony on May 16, 2025, Ventura attested to having sex with Diddy, relationships with Audi, and voiced mistrust, thinking he might have captured one of their sex sessions. Furthermore, an audio recording of Ventura threatening a DJ over a suspected video was aired during this hearing, has been interpreted as supporting Audi's assertions, which were earlier rejected by the audio tape that Troutwine stated is especially unsettling as reports claim that Ventura is seen making threats someone over a potential recording of one of these interactions, if any are available. If there is video proof of these, prosecutors may use the purported freak-offs as the smoking gun to support their case beyond a reasonable doubt. We now move from the individual who doubted the male escort's damning statement, rejected the man whose testimony has been the foundation of the FBI investigation as a conspiracy theorist. Diddy Daniel Phillips, a 41-year-old man who works as an escort, is the target of prosecution. On May 12, 2025, the review manager testified and provided what numerous legal. His remarks were so vivid that analysts are describing them as some of the most damaging testimony in the annals of recent celebrity trials. Phillips's testimony was so thorough and unsettling that it sent shockwaves across the federal courthouse in Manhattan, centered on his contacts with Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend from 2012 to 2014, and lasted almost an hour. Although this was not merely any testimony, rather it was an eyewitness account of what the prosecution refers to as freak-offs. Let me take you through the drug-fueled sexual encounters that are at the core of Diddy's sex trafficking charges. What Phillips stated in court as the specifics depict a pattern of institutionalized abuse and exploitation that surpasses all prior celebrity scandals by a significant margin. Phillips stated in his testimony that he received between $700 and $6,000 for each sexual rendezvous with Cassie Ventura in front of Diddy, who noted that these weren't brief meetings. They were occasionally recorded, lasted anywhere from 1 hour to 10 hours, and Phillip wasn't always compensated if he couldn't perform. Phillips's description of sexual psychological manipulation demonstrates a degree of control that surpasses. Phillips felt scared by Diddy during a straightforward commercial transaction, especially after Diddy took a picture of his driver's license, which he saw as a way to guarantee his silence. This wasn't mild coercion, rather, it was a strong warning about the consequences of Phillips speaking out. Picture yourself in that position as an escort, vulnerable and reliant on this income. And all of a sudden, the person who is paying you is taking images of your ID. The message is clear. I know who you are. I know where to look, and you should keep your mouth shut. However, the most important, the most terrifying part of Phillips's testimony was not the explicit sexual content, but rather his account of the violence he witnessed. Phillips stated in court that he saw Diddy physically abuse Ventura several times, including when Diddy struck her and pulled her by her hair. He claimed to have heard Ventura yell, I'm sorry, the particulars Phillips supplied while being smacked and mistreated depict interactions that were far from agreeable or enjoyable for Cassie. He explained how Diddy would provide precise instructions on the time and location to awkward, orgasmic role-playing activities that didn't succeed, and situations when Ventura would beg him to urinating on her isn't an act of self-gratification. Rather, it's the behavior of someone who has been. Phillips also provided testimony on the drug, saying it was broken down, controlled, and coerced into engaging in demeaning behaviors. Phillips stated that Diddy supplied him MDMA during these encounters, a substance that was purportedly essential to them. It caused him to feel queasy, ecstatic, and sick. This supports what Jonathan Audi claimed years ago. What's really remarkable about these purported sessions using liquid cocaine and other drugs is how Phillips's evidence is in complete agreement with what Audi stated during his 2018 interview, during which Audi discussed Phillips recounted similar protracted drug-fueled interactions between the two men involving MDMA and other substances. Both drug-related sessions included psychological manipulation as well as Diddy observing and directing. And manage, it is evident from Phillips's testimony that these purported activities are businesslike. Explained how dance or stripping businesses contacted them to offer these services, and even revealed that another Diddy invited a male prostitute who engaged in a verbal confrontation during a threesome, indicating a degree of organization and systematization that points to what prosecutors contend was a criminal offense and goes beyond impulsive behavior. Phillips's is an enterprise with many moving components, regular participants, and established protocols. Testimony is so potent because it supports Jonathan Odd's prior assertions as well as additional proof offered in Phillips's evidence detailed interactions that happened at hotels throughout Manhattan and private homes, frequently involving narcotics and continuing for hours, which is precisely what Audi stated during his 2018 questioning regarding being pushed into such circumstances with Diddy and Cassie. The places Phillips cited are important as well. We're not referring of seedy motels or back alley activities here. These purported interactions happened at private homes throughout the city, particularly at places like the Jumeirah Essex House and upscale hotels around Manhattan. The utilization of such high-end locations by hotels indicates that the patron has substantial financial means, and the self-assurance to that these activities would not have any negative effects on Phillips's emotional complexity engagement is made evident when he tells why he kept taking part in spite of seeing abuse. He wanted to check up on Ventura because he thought of her as a friend and because he was afraid of getting into trouble with Diddy. This illustrates the intricate psychology of these circumstances. Phillips was more than just a hired bodyguard. He developed an emotional devoted to Cassie's welfare despite his involvement in her two-reported exploitation. Consider the Phillips must have been under psychological strain because he was supposedly being paid to engage in the sexual taking advantage of a lady he regarded as a friend, while also seeing her, being physically and emotionally, the cognitive dissonance of being mistreated by the man who is paying him would be too much to handle. But when you combine that with the anxiety of revenge, if he came out and you start to see why it took so long for these stories to surface. Phillips's testimony was visceral and instantaneous, and his account's violent content was so upsetting that Diddy's the 18-year-old twins, Delilah and Jesse Combs, and their 3 daughters, Chance Combs, left the courtroom twice during the testimony. Picture yourself in a courtroom listening to such in-depth accounts of your father's alleged sexual behavior that requires you to exit the room. The human cost of these accusations goes well beyond simply children who are learning about their parents' apparent evil side are the ones who are most impacted by Diddy. Phillips disclosed information during his testimony in the most open manner imaginable, which confirms the male escort video's audio transcript.
Such as a Jane Doe, whom he, according to the prosecutors, punched and kicked and savaged less than a year ago. Prosecutors told jurors about Jane Doe, who was a single mom when she met Diddy back in 2020.
Pattern of aggression that Phillips detailed wasn't exclusive to his encounters. Rather, it was purportedly a component of a larger pattern of abuse against numerous victims, but Phillips's testimony also included unsettling information regarding how these were filmed. Phillips reported that Diddy used a cell phone to record him and Ventura having sex once or twice. Camcorder, if such recordings are available, they may offer indisputable proof of these purported interactions. Crucially, the fact that these recordings exist begs the question of what more footage might be out there and who else might have been captured on camera, and how the prosecution has suggested that such footage may have been utilized to control or blackmail victims. Phillips's testimony is obviously crucial to their case because it offers first-hand proof of Diddy's alleged participation in coercion and sex trafficking, including cash transactions and the observation of abuse. Phillips's conduct was different from that of many other witnesses whose testimony may have been based on rumors or secondhand information. Was purportedly present in the room, taking part in and directly observing these activities, and Phillips also offered insight into. He testified that they hardly ever wore condoms during their encounters despite the medical hazards involved, which supports Jonathan Audy's assertion that his interactions with Diddy and Cassie caused him to get herpes. This information provides more evidence of the alleged exploitation, as these people were reportedly forced to, in addition to engaging in sexual activity, they were exposed to STDs without the appropriate defense, made an effort to undermine Phillips's credibility by implying that he was a willing participant who was free to leave at any moment. But his testimony demonstrates the intricate network of fear, financial need, and sincere care for Cassie that kept him. Phillip, who was participating, claimed that because of his connection with Ventura, he would have taken part without payment. Disproves the idea that this is just a transactional issue. The courtroom eruption and everything else indicates that during Diddy's trial, the mood in the federal courthouse in Manhattan has been electrifying, but nothing could have given attendees a better understanding of Daniel Phillips's cross-examination, while the specifics of any outburst are still unknown. Several unverified reports claim that as Phillips went on to describe the purported freak-off sessions and the abuse he saw, the courtroom tensions escalate to a breaking point, and we can be certain that the graphic nature of everyone in attendance, including Diddy's own family members, was deeply affected by the testimony. The emotional toll of it is impossible to exaggerate these statements. When the prosecution showed the 2016 CCTV footage of Diddy, the courtroom fell silent when Cassie Ventura was brutally attacked in a hotel hallway in Los Angeles. This wasn't an additional piece of evidence. It provided visual proof of the brutality that Phillips and Audy had both detailed in. According to their testimonies, the video showed Diddy kicking Cassie twice, seizing her by the neck and slamming her to the ground. Phillips attested to seeing this exact activity on numerous occasions, dragging her by her sweatshirt. When Cassie Ventura herself took the stand for her testimony, however, it was the real bombshell. She acknowledged having sex with Audy with Diddy on May 16, 2025, and voiced mistrust, thinking he might have captured this testimony at one of their freak-off sex parties. Essentially supported all of Jonathan Audy's allegations made during his 2018 interview, which had been rejected as the ramblings of a lunatic. Consider the ramifications of this instance in which a woman who had supposedly molested and exploited for more than 10 years, was now testifying to the allegations of a man who had been dismissed in addition to confirming Audi's allegations about their sex. The conspiracy theorist was also expressing mistrust of him and implying that she was conscious enough to be careful even in those apparently coercive situations, fearful of being filmed or extorted throughout the trial. We can observe how the prosecution has constructed their case methodically.
We've learned about other women, not just Cassie, whom prosecutors claim that Diddy victimized, such as a Jane Doe, whom he, according to the prosecutors, punched and kicked and savaged less than a year ago.
This wasn't just about Cassie. The prosecution has alleged a pattern of abuse affecting multiple victims. The prosecutor continued with devastating detail.
The prosecution has claimed a pattern of abuse that affected several victims, so this wasn't just about Cassie. The prosecutor went on in horrifying detail.
She, quote, thought it was a one-off wild night, but loved him desperately and wanted a real relationship with him, the prosecutor said. Jane Doe says that Diddy paid her rent for a house where she lived with her child, and although she tried to resist the freak-offs, he would threaten to no longer financially support her.
This testimony demonstrates the claimed coercion's systematic nature by employing financial reliance to coerce sexual behaviors is even more unsettling.
He then allegedly continued to punch, kick, drag her by the hair, and slap her face before making her cover her black eye and have intimate relations with an escort.
A pattern of alleged violence is shown, followed by, in their statements to federal prosecutors, Audi and Phillips both detailed forced sexual encounters, have shown a man who established what they refer to as a criminal organization by using his fame, fortune, and power. The evidence they have provided, which spans more than 20 years, goes well beyond Audi and Phillips' testimonies. Federal officials found more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricating drugs during raids on Diddy's homes. The prosecution has also exposed the systematic nature of electronic devices that hold pictures and videos of freak-offs. These purported activities.
Yes, the prosecutor says that the freak-offs often lasted multiple days and with multiple escorts, and sometimes forced them to travel out of state. The prosecutor says that Diddy directed everything and frequently had staff on hand to replenish lubricant, linens, and drugs for the women and himself, as well as cash for the escorts.
This is not rash behavior. Rather, it is purportedly a coordinated operation involving several individuals. We're talking about more than a few bottles of baby food. The sheer number of products found during these raids speaks for itself. More than 1,000 bottles of industrial quantities of oil, the kind you could find in someone's bathroom cabinet, that imply methodical, planned activity with several people over long periods of time. Evidence explicitly supports the long-term interactions that Phillips and Audi described, involving extensive use of oils and lubricants, but the defense has retaliated forcefully, with Diddy's lawyers, Mark Agnafilo and Tini Geros, has admitted violent incidents but disputed that Diddy was involved in sex trafficking or operated a racketeering operation. Business, they contend that every sexual encounter was voluntary and that the prosecution's case is founded on the testimony of people looking to profit from civil cases. The defense's tactic appears to be to distinguish the recognized domestic abuse from the accusations of sex trafficking that they are effectively making. He was violent, and yes, he did hit Cassie, but that doesn't prove he was a sex trafficker. as they've tried to portray him. Diddy, a man whose unusual way of life has been unjustly criminalized, claims that being a swinger with the defense has also tried to refute the idea that having complicated relationships does not automatically make someone a sex trafficker. Reliability of important witnesses such as Phillips, who pointed out contradictions in their statements and questioned their motives. They have attempted to portray these witnesses as opportunists looking to take advantage of Diddy or for financial gain. However, as more witnesses come forward with similar stories, this tactic has becoming more challenging. But the mounting evidence, including the testimony of Cassie Ventura, which started on May 13th, 2025, paints a different picture, has offered first-hand confirmation of the mistreatment described in her comprehensive testimonies from both Audi and Phillips. The freak-off sessions and coercion are exactly in line with what these men said about one of the most potent. Cassie's testimony included details about the psychological effects of these purported freak-offs,